da da da. Ti da 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 da. I da 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 da. I da 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 da. Da da da. Ti da 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 da. Ma da 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 di. Da da da. Ma da da da. Di da 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 di. Da 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 ma da da. Di da 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 dum. Di da 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 dum. Di da 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 dum. Di da 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 da. Da da da, da 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 da. Okay, I'm having trouble. I upgraded my internet, and it's giving me a lot of trouble. Okay, so parshat Behalotcha. Okay. English, right? Bavadai? No, Bavadai. You speak Hebrew like an Israeli. Are you Israeli or American? You came from America or you?
Pan.
Okay. So let's take a look at English. Chapter 8, Perik Chet, and you did it. There's a small microphone on the table here. Okay. Thank you. So the parsha begins, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe. You have it, yeah?
Yeah, I have it. Let's send it if you have it.
Right, Hashem says to Moshe, Lemor, Daber, speak to Aaron, and V'amarta elav, and tell him, Ba'alotcha tanerot, when you light the candles, and notice that when you make a bracha on Shabbos to light your Shabbos candles, you don't say Lahalot Ner Shabbat, you say Lahatlik Ner Shabbat, right? So the verb for lighting is Lahatlik. Mm-hmm. And over here, the Torah is using the verb of Behalotcha, right? So when you raise the candles, right? Elmul Pnei HaMenorah Ya'iru Shivat HaNeirot. So the candles should be directed towards the face of the menorah. So there were 3 on each side of the menorah, right? And so you understand that the 3 of each direction of each side are facing towards the center of the menorah. The Pnei HaMenorah is the stem of the menorah, right? But then the question is, why does it say Ya'iru Shivat HaNeirot? Why does it say that the 7 should be towards the Pnei HaMenorah? It would make more sense to say Ya'iru Sheshet HaNeirot, right? So Mr. Shem will answer that question too. Another thing is, Ya'iru is in the future tense, right? So what's the allusion over here? Well, there's an allusion on the fact that it says Ya'iru, that they shall, because the word they shall, can be translated as they shall continue to light. So let's read another couple of verses. So then it says that what? Then it says that people are complaining about the sound. Oh, there we go. Okay. So then it says, Vayaskin Aaron did as he was told. He lit the candles towards the face of the menorah. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe, like Hashem commanded Moshe. And this is how the menorah was made. Miksha zahav, it's beaten gold. And the way Rashi explains is that It was like one piece of gold that was beaten into shape. It wasn't made. There are different opinions about this, but according to Rashi's opinion, it wasn't made from parts and then the parts put together, like you would, like, for example, that menorah over there, right? Each branch is a separate part and then it's put together, right? You want some water? Have to say.
Okay, thanks.
And so Rashi's opinion is that it was like one chunk of gold that was beaten into shape. And that's the meaning of the word miksha. Ad yerecha, all the way from its base, ad pircha, all the way to its flower ornaments. Mikshahi, it was beaten gold. Kamare asher hara Hashem et Moshe, according to the vision or the image that Hashem showed Moshe on Mount Sinai. Ken asa menorah, so he made menorah. Who made the menorah? It says Ken asa menorah. So he made it. Who made it? Right. So Rashi tells us that Hashem actually made it. Okay. That Moshe Rabbeinu was having a hard time understanding how to make the menorah. And in the end, Hashem said, okay, just throw the gold into the fire, right? It's like, right? Okay. So that has to be understood as well. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. The first question that Rashi deals with is, why is this parsha of B'Halotcha written over here in the Torah? Why over here? Because after all, the mitzvah of making the menorah, the mitzvah of lighting the candles, this was already all given together with the instructions for the building of the Mishkan, right? So what's it doing over here all of a sudden? There isn't really much new information over here. I mean, the things do get repeated in the Torah, particularly in Sefer Dvarim. That's why Dvarim is called Deuteronomy, right? Mishneh Torah, the repetition of the Torah. But why is this being repeated over here? So Rashi tells us, brings us a medrash, that at the end of last week's parsha, we read a whole big chapter about the inauguration of the Mizbeach, the inauguration of the altar, which was done over a period of 12 days. Every day, the prince of another tribe brought a whole series of sacrifices, and the menorah was inaugurated. Now, the Kohen realized that neither he nor anyone from his tribe participated in the inauguration. So, Chalsha Azda'ato, which is usually was some translated as he felt disheartened, but literally Chalsha is from the word Chalash, weak. That is consciousness. Somehow it affected his consciousness. In other words, it really hurt him that he didn't participate, and also that no one from his tribe participated in the inauguration of the Mizbeach. So Hashem comes and tells him, don't worry, your portion is bigger than theirs. In other words, you're going to be lighting the menorah. So how does that answer the question? If he's feeling disheartened because he didn't participate in the lighting of the menorah, in the inauguration of the altar, so he still didn't participate. So good, so he's lighting the menorah. So he's doing all the other sacrifices, he's doing plenty of things. So how is he being comforted by the fact that he's lighting the menorah? So the Ramban brings two midrashim, or each one they're similar to each other, slight differences. How is this going to comfort him? So he says that Hashem was telling he saw in a place called Megillat Starim from Rabbeinu Nissim, from under the Rishonim, that he brings this teaching that he saw in the Medrash, that Hashem is telling Aaron there's another dedication that needs to be done, and that is namely the dedication of the menorah, right? And this will be done through you and your descendants, and this will bring miracles and salvation to the Jews. And this is already a remez, it's already an allusion to the miracle of Hanukkah. That there's going to come a day when we won't have the opportunity to bring sacrifices, and there's going to be the miracle of Hanukkah, and the Beis Hamikdash, instead of being inaugurated with the altar, is going to be the second. The Mikdash is going to be inaugurated with the lighting of the menorah. Right? It's going to be inaugurated with the lighting of the menorah. So that's comforting. In other words, don't feel that you were left out. There's going to be another inauguration, with that of the menorah, and so on. Then he brings another teaching, another source from the Tanchuma, and it's also in the Medrash Rabbah, that Hashem is telling Aaron that you are actually going to be doing something even greater. Why? Because the lighting, the inauguration, the altar is going to be used only so long as the Beis Hamikdash is standing, right? But the candles will all. So the allusion is from the fact that it says El Mul Pnei HaMenorah Ya'iru Shivat HaNerot. That Ya'iru, as I mentioned before, is in the future tense. In other words, the menorah lights are going to be eternal. And that's obviously an allusion to Hanukkah, that even at a time when we won't have a menorah, we're still going to have a mitzvah of lighting the menorah. And also, before the chapter about the inauguration of the altar, you have Birkat Kohanim, right? The mitzvah that Aaron and his children were given to bless the children of Israel every day with Birkat Kohanim, and this is also a mitzvah that is continuous. It's not dependent on having the Beit HaMikdash. Answers the question to some extent, but it still leaves us with the question of, but he didn't participate in the inauguration of the altar. So the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, you heard of the Or HaChaim? Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. You know about the Or HaChaim, right? You know that he lived at the same time as the Baal Shem Tov. And he, what do you call it? Baal Shem Tov, he made Aliyah from Morocco. Shem Tov very, very much wanted what happened. My video ended. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so Baal Shem Tov actually tried to come to Israel because he wanted to get together with our Kodesh. And they say that, but he couldn't do it. He didn't succeed. And they say among Hasidim that had the Baal Shem Tov and the Or HaChaim gotten, they would have succeeded in bringing Mashiach. Because these two souls were the two highest neshamas at that time, and it wasn't time for it to happen, so it was prevented. In any case, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, you know, his kever, his grave is in Har HaMeluchot. And when we got Har HaMeluchot back after the 6-day war, we found that a lot of the graves had been destroyed. A lot of the headstones were smashed, but his and a couple nearby were not damaged. Local Arabs was asked, how come these were not touched? So this fellow said, don't think that they didn't try, but anybody who tried to approach it was overcome, was gripped with fear, and they ran away. So I don't know how to explain those things, but so in many cases, there's a commentary on the Torah that's known as the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, the living light, the holy living light. So he explains like this, that every single day that Aaron the Kohen was lighting the menorah, he was in fact doing an inauguration. The menorah was being inaugurated, it was a Chanukah every single day. Right? So Hashem is telling Aaron, your portion is greater in what sense? In that you are doing a Chanukah every single day. The altar was inaugurated one time by the 12 princes. But you're doing an inauguration every single day. Okay, so now, I don't work linear. That's okay with you? Yeah, okay. The body's not linear either, is it? Okay, especially if you're into alternative stuff.
Non-linear is good.
Good, okay. I hope you're used to it already. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, if you're making pottery, of course, it's not linear, right? Okay. So, on the phrase in the third verse, it said, "Vayas kein Aaron." Aaron did as he was told. I think someone's at the door. Maybe. Oh, somebody's there. It's okay. You did. Someone's there. So, Rashi, everybody's right away like wondering. Vayas kein Aaron. Aaron did as he was told. What did you think he was going to do? Hashem gives him a mitzvah, right? He's Aaron HaKoyim. And guess what, everybody? When I was in school and I did what the teacher said, I deserved the note, today Sholem did what the teacher said, right? In other words, the rule was that generally I didn't, right? Generally I didn't. And then when I did something good, Sholem, listen today, that's great. Okay, but Aaron HaKohen, Vayas kein Aaron, he did as he was told. So what does Rashi say? The Torah is coming to praise Aaron, shelo shina, that he didn't change anything. Mazel tov. What did you think? He was going to change? Right? So, before I get to Reb Shlomo's teaching, I mentioned two other teachings. One, a Yid in New York told me the other day, today is Thursday, so I saw this Yid on Tuesday. He said, Shloshina, that he didn't change. In other words, he didn't let the fact that Hashem is giving him such a great mitzvah, he didn't let it interfere with his humility. Which is an interesting comment. It's just that it makes me raise another question. I would expect that, Hashem gives you such a mitzvah, it would make you even more humble. But we know, you've got a Yitzhahara, whenever we do something really good, somebody, we like to be patted on the back and so on and think, oh wow, I'm really great and so on. So that's a very, very important thing to know. Are you doing a mitzvah? It says, I once heard this from the Nikolsberger Rebbe, in Tfilat Arvit, we say in the bracha before the Amidah, we say, "V'haseu Satan milfanenu u'ma'acharenu." Remove the Satan from in front of us and from behind us. Now, in front of us, we understand. What does the Satan do? The Satan comes and tries to block us from doing a mitzvah and tries to get us to do a transgression. But what's the from behind us? So he said the following. In front of us, when it comes to the Satan tries to get us to do something, a transgression. And also, when we're trying to do a mitzvah, the Satan will come and say, come on, this is such a holy thing that you are, that you should go do this mitzvah, right? After all, come on, you and I were hanging around. We were hanging out just last night, right? And it wasn't just one beer too many, right? Okay. So the Satan, no? Can you tell Judy that the whistling is attracting, is distracting? Okay. And also tell her I wanted to come meet these new people here. So that's as far as doing a mitzvah is concerned. Now, what about a transgression? So, I'm sorry. What about that's before doing a mitzvah, right? What about after? Remove the Satan. You told her that she should come in to meet these people after? Okay, let's have tell her after, sit down. Okay. So now, after, so let's say once I've done a transgression, so what does the Satan do? Satan says, to me forever. You've done this, don't even ever dream about being a tzaddik anymore, right? Maybe not after the first time, but after the second time, right? And so that's when I've done a transgression. But what about a mitzvah? Let's say I've done a mitzvah. What does the Satan have to do? Mi'acharenu. Mi'acharenu, the Satan comes to say, it was so holy. You're such a holy man. You're so great, right? And he tries to rob you of the mitzvah by giving you pride, right? But not the healthy pride. Okay? So lagid shpacho shel Aaron shelo shina, so you can apply Aaron is really praiseworthy. He didn't fall for that pride that would come like, oh, I'm the one that's illuminating God's light in the world. Right?
So, on the other hand, you could also interpret that when he says you're mine forever, you should say, no, that's not true.
That's right. That's true. That's right. Absolutely. Well, that's why we're saying, Vaseu Satan. But you got to realize that the Satan works before and after, right? Okay. Then there's another verse that I heard years ago, and that is when you're doing something day in, day out for 40 years, or close to 40 years, you don't even have to wait for 40 years, right? You start becoming very mechanical about it. And or it's like, for example, doctors very often end up losing their sensitivity towards the patients because they're seeing the people with illness every day. That's why the Rambam's prayer for the physician, which I imagine you've seen, right? He's praying that, don't let dealing with a human being, and that I'm just your agent to try to help this person be better, right? Don't let me lose my sensitivity. So Aaron HaKohen was able to do the mitzvah every like it was the first time. He did it with the same passion, with the same enthusiasm as if it was the first time, right? And but now let's go on to Reb Shlomo's teaching. Reb Shlomo says like this. There's a verse in Tehillim that says, where is it? Is it over there? There's a verse in Tehillim which the Rav Shisser gives the following interpretation. The Rav Shisser gives the following interpretation to it. It says, "Vayikanu leMoshe b'machaneh la'Aaron Hashem." they were jealous of Moshe in the camp, Aaron Kiddush Hashem, and also they were making trouble for Aaron Kiddush Hashem, the Holy One, the one who was anointed to be the servant of Hashem. Where is this verse? I'll just tell you in a second. Okay, it's in chapter 1, in Psalm 106. So the Reb Shlomo interprets as follows: that Moshe Rabbeinu, he was in his office, let's say, right, doing his work. So Vayikanu Moshe, they were jealous, they were not happy with Moshe, and they were saying, B'machaneh, what are you doing sitting in your office? You should be out among the people. This is the Reb Shlomo. And Aaron, Kiddush Hashem. And Aaron, they were saying, what are you doing in the street? You should be sitting in the Mishkan the whole time. You're a holy man. So Reb Shlomo says that, here the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, the Mishnah says, be a student of Aaron. Ohev Shalom v'rodev Shalom. He loved peace and he pursued peace. Ohev et habriyot. He loved the people. U'mekavan la Torah, and he brought them close to the Torah. The commentators say, what was he doing? He saw two Yidden were in a fight, or he saw a husband and a wife that were not having shalom bayis. So he would go to each one and he would say, you don't feel so bad that he got into this argument with you. And he would speak like that to each one, and then when they would meet, they would make peace with each other, right? So from that Mishnah, we understand that Aaron the Kohen was well aware of what's going on in the street, and Reb Shlomo says so, and that's the way it's taken from the commentary of the Reb Shlomo. He's like, they're telling him, what are you doing in the street? You should be Judy just wants you to meet some new neighbors of ours from what's the state? From Portland, Oregon. And he's a doctor, but into alternative stuff. So that's where your mama have to talk. Okay. Okay. So, are you a physician too?
Yeah, but I'm retired.
You're
But
retired.
I still do a lot of the things.
Okay, you should get.
Yeah.
You'll get together. Okay, so from the Mishnah that Aaron HaKohen was involved with the people, we understand that Aaron HaKohen was literally involved with the people. And Reb Shlomo says he probably was dressed like everybody else. Like, he probably put on his officiating garments in the Beis HaMikdash, but outside in the street, he was like, like, hey, uncle, hi, hi, how you doing? How you doing, right? Now, the question is, how did he relate with the people? And what is this business? He would tell, oh, Yankel is so sorry. He would tell Yankel, Chanel is so sorry. Or he would tell, like, two guys that got into a fight. Oh, your friend is so sorry. Your friend is so sorry. Sounds like a kindergarten manual, no? Like two kids are fighting over a toy and so on. And then, he didn't mean it. He did. So what's the secret of it? So Reb Shlomo says, when a Yid came with a sin offering, with a korban chatat, how do you think Aaron spoke to this person? How do you think he spoke to him? Now, a lot of people would imagine, especially, from the religious crowd, they would imagine that, that he would tell him, what you're doing is terrible. You're a transgressor, you're a sinner, this and that, you better stop, you're a big mess, and so on. Shlomo says, no, shelosh shina. He didn't try to change the person. But what he did instead is he brought the person back to being in touch with his real, deeper inner essence. And when a person gets in touch with his inner essence, with the fact that he has a neshama, that she has a neshama, so then you naturally on your own say, what was I doing getting into this argument? Right? So, right, and then this is his greatness, is that Vayas Ken Aharon, that in his lighting the menorah, he wasn't going around and telling people, listen, you're a real mess, you're disgusting, you're that. He lit the menorah, he lit the candles, right? Neir Hashem Nishmat Adam, the soul of man. Sorry, the candle of man is the soul of man, right? Every person is a candle of God, and our job is to help them illuminate that. Right? But the way to illuminate it is by bringing the person back in touch with the fact that they have an neshama, that they're one of God's candles. And the lighting of the menorah was on a deeper level. He was lighting the lights of all the Jewish people. Okay? He was lighting the lights of all the Jewish people, and this is the deeper meaning of Chanukah, or Chanukat HaMizbeach, or Chanukat HaBayit, or Chanukat HaMenorah, which means, like the PSS says in his introduction to the Sefer Chovat HaTalmidim, he explains the concept of Chanukah, what is of chinuch, of education. The concept of chinuch is to bring, to help and facilitate each student that their light should illuminate in the world, should be illuminating in the world. That's the concept of chinuch. If I just teach you do this, that's training. That's not chinuch. It's helping you bring out your light, helping you manifest your purpose of being in the world. That's chinuch. Okay? Chanukat HaMizbeach, the inauguration of the altar, doesn't mean just that they were the first ones to start the service and operation. It means that they made the use of the altar exactly in the way that it was intended to be used. They manifested its real purpose in the world. Chanukat HaMenorah is he was illuminating the real purpose of what it was all about. Chinuch is to help manifest each child to fulfill their purpose and mission in the world. When we meet one another and we say hello, it's also you're turning on lights. You're lighting the lights, right? And that's the Indian of Chanukat HaMenorah. That's why Hashem is telling Aaron the Kohen, your Chanukah, the Chanukah that you're going to be doing is not a time thing. It has to be done again and again and again. It has to be done every day. Okay? So how do you do this? Well, the most practical teaching on this is the teaching of Reb Nachman, by focusing on the good point of the other person. Reb Nachman says that whatever you focus on, the part of that person that begins to illuminate. That begins to vibrate. You focus on something negative, you're putting them into negative, and they're vibrating from a negative place. You focus on something positive, you're putting them into a positive space, and that's what. So, this also explains why it says, Beha'alutcha et hanirot. When you are raising the candles, and Rashi says that he would stand there with his flame next to each candle until the flame would arise on its own. So some interpret that in a sort of in a literal sense, that, like, for example, if you hold a match next to a wick, it will catch fire even without you touching it. So like I once heard someone say, it means light the candles in such a way, light each person's candle, but without burning them. You know, you can light their fire also and burn them, but you don't want to do that. Frierdiker Rebbe, the second last Lubavitcher Rebbe, never he wasn't well, and one day he had to have an injection, and was cleaning him with sterilizing the. So he said to them, why when I take medicine orally, you don't have to make me gargle with alcohol to sterilize my mouth, right? I mean, that's not the way he put it, right? But why, when you're giving me a needle, you have to sterilize me? So the answer he was given was, piercing the skin, you got to be careful not to cause an infection. So he said this is a very big teaching in relation to that when you're criticizing someone, be careful that you're not going to cause an infection, right? Even though it's a mitzvah in the Torah, you might think that, oh, I'm doing you the biggest favor, I'm rebuking you, right? It says in the Torah, but you might be rebuking in such a way that you can end up making things worse.
Yeah, but I don't understand the parallel.
To the story?
Yeah, between
because
the mouth and the skin.
Because
No, I understand
words of rebuke,
physically what happens.
Yeah, but because words of rebuke can be very piercing.
Sharp
and,
words.
And that's why the Gemara says, it's already ruled in the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Akiva says, I don't know if there's anyone, seems that there's no one around who knows how to give rebuke anymore. And Rabbi Tarfon reversing them. And the other one says, there isn't anybody around who can really receive rebuke properly. Now, the significance of that is that basically the Gemara is saying that he knows how to do rebuke or receive it. That if you see somebody doing something negative, even if you've rebuked them 100 times, you're not off the hook. You're still responsible for what they're doing.
Well, you're not supposed to give rebuke if you're sure,
you're not going to receive
it the right way. Right?
That's exactly that, right? In other words, and since Reb Tarfon says nobody really knows how to receive it, so that means that if people would know how to receive rebuke, and you rebuke someone and they still go ahead and they continue to do what they're doing, so then they and only they are responsible for what they're doing. Okay, is based on what? what does it say? Hocheach tochiach et amitecha v'lo tisa alav chet. Rebuke, you shall surely rebuke your fellow, and don't carry a sin because of him.
Yeah, but I mean, you could.
Wait,
Okay.
please. Okay. Now the parshat shot, one shot in that is that when you're rebuking, do it in a way that you're not doing a sin. In other words, don't embarrass them. Okay. But the other thing is that all Jews are intertwined. We're responsible for one another. And if I see somebody about to do something negative and I could stop them and I didn't stop them, then I'm a partner in the crime. Now, so what if I rebuked the person and he went ahead and did it anyway? So if it was like 100% sure that my rebuke, and it was 100% sure that the person received the rebuke properly, you understand? And they went ahead and they did it anyway. So then they're responsible for what they did, and I've done my duty, right? But since the Gemara says that nobody really knows how to give rebuke anymore, and nobody really knows how to receive it, therefore, and the person goes ahead and continues doing what they're doing, I still have to work with that person. I still have to do everything that I can to help them to get back to do things correctly. Understand? I can't say I've done my duty, because maybe I haven't.
But you could also make it worse by doing that.
So Reb Nachman says, don't rebuke. Focus on the values. That's right. That's why we don't. That's what makes this whole teaching so important. That what makes Aaron really special is that he didn't tell the guy, you're a mess. On the contrary, he always was pointing out the good in the person and bringing and connecting them back with their deepest essence, and that's what brought out the good in the person. And that's Reb Nachman's whole Torah Bazamra, focusing on the good point. And it's important to remember also the teaching of Reb Nachman saying that not only do you have to do this for someone else, you need to do this for yourself too. You always have to focus on the positive. So one question that still remains, so why does it say Ya'iru Shivat HaNerot, that the 7 candles should be illuminated, right? So the Ishbitzer explains that Pnei HaMenorah, so the 6 candles obviously are representative of the 6 weekdays, right? Pnei HaMenorah, the face of the menorah, the essence of the menorah, representing Shabbos, the stem of the menorah, right? So this, everything that you're doing during the 6 days of the week should be in honor of Shabbos. So you know that's the known teaching from the Talmud. The 7 nerot of the 7 candles are also symbolic of the 7 sfirot, the 7 emotional attributes, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And the idea is that they should be done, everything, Pnei HaMenorah, it says the Ishbitzer is L'Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heaven. In other words, like for example, you're doing a mitzvah. You're eating matzah on Pesach. So you can do it because you have all kinds of deep understandings of the mitzvah, but ultimately what we need to be doing is we need to be doing it L'Shem Shamayim because Hashem said to do it. We're learning Torah. Yes, it's going to give me honor. It's going to make me wise. It's going to tell, or I'm going to get Gan Eden for it. To do it L'Shem Shamayim is forget about all that. Just do it because Hashem said. So the Ishbitzer says that Ya'iru Shivat HaNerot is you got to make sure that your L'Shem Shamayim is also L'Shem Shamayim. In other words, don't fool yourself with your L'Shem Shamayim. Don't. In other words, you got to make sure that when you're doing it for the sake of heaven, that it's really for the sake of heaven. So that's why it says Ya'iru Shivat HaNerot, the 7 candles the seventh one should also be El Mul Pnei HaMenorah. So Hashem is the menorah. Hashem is the luminary, right? So it's to bring it all towards in connection with the luminary. And it's interesting that the symbol of the state of Israel, despite the fact that the state still sometimes considers itself to be a secular entity in a certain sense, the symbol of the state is the menorah, right? The menorah is probably the most powerful symbol of the Jewish people. Right? You were going to ask something.
You were saying something with that he would wait for each flame to. I missed that part.
In other words, instead of touching each wick with fire, he would hold his candle near each wick until its light goes up on its own.
And that comes from where?
I heard that once. I mean, that's a Rashi. That it seems that's what Rashi's saying. Okay, sorry we started late, but
Me too.
okay, hello to all who joined the shir online. Call to. I don't know if this gets recorded or not, but we'll find out. No?